Hi students, how are you all? Welcome in our SS lecture and we have chapter 7 Economic Aspects of Gender. That nowadays women are working in formal and informal sectors. They work even at home also. So women are taking care of household work and they work in formal and informal sector also. In earlier time, women are not working in other sectors, just they have to take care of home and household work and like take care of their children, cleaning, washing and this household work they have to do. Men have to work outside the house. Their work are paid, but the woman work, the domestic work of home, it is unpaid. In Western countries, there was a several of that shortage of labors, and the years of that World War II and One. During that time, there was a shortage of labor. So, women started taking that of duties outside the house and to ensure that the economic stays about with the while the men were of hiding. When all men were joined in the army and were fight in World War One and Two, most of the women they take charge of that man's work to maintain that economy of that country. Till the man had always been that considered as the breadwinner of the family and the woman as the homemakers or house caretakers. However, during this time, women began working in the formal sectors like factories, household work, banks, schools, and everywhere. They realized that they had economic worth too. They can also work like men. They can be also breadwinners for their families. Nowadays, you can see women across the world are working. Nowadays, women across the world are working throughout the whole world, are working in various areas to earn living. You can see mostly women are working in formal sectors to earn livelihood. They are working for various reasons. Some women work outside for necessary, and some women work to support their family. Some women work to create that identity, and some to increase their knowledge. Some to support their family. So, for many reasons, women started working in different that formal sectors. In that villages, that women are working in informal sectors. They are related with the agriculture and that farming work. And in cities, women are working in formal sectors like banks, schools, hospitals, and in business. So they were that increasing the cost of living also, and that compels women to work outside home. Actually, the changing structure of the family and changing of urbanization, consumerism, computerization, and competitions are there, and there are major factors which have pushed a woman to take part in a job or to do job. Women work in both formal and informal sectors, and economic activities which are not taxable, that are called that informal sector, and economic activities which are taxable, they are called as formal sectors. Divisions of labor at home. Division of labor at home. You can see in a rural as well as urban area in India, educated and uneducated women manage most of the household work and all house. They do domestic that chores. The household work done by the women of the family, it is like a unpaid work. The work done by the women, that household work, it is unpaid work. The labor is excluded while calculating the national income. Labor is that underestimated, and household work is time consuming, that like a job. It needs physically and demanding, and it needs physical lot of labor. It is the full time job. However, it is that invisible and developed, that unrecognized. It is a full time job, and then also it is unpaid job. In most of the that societies, even when women work outside the home, they are seen as they are not seen as the breadwinners. Most of the women work outside, but they are not seen as a breadwinners. Mostly the men are seen as a breadwinner. In family, they continue to do household work. Men usually do not share the domestic work at home, and women face inequality in these all that factors at home, and do not always receives that less amount and less food, and living conditions are not better than men. That yet they work either due to that poverty, or to share that their husband's financial that burden. However, women share that financial burden of men for their husband. Women have to balance. Women, they have to balance that domestic work and they paid work, which makes their life very challenging. The life of woman is very challenging. They have to work at home, and in a formal or informal sector, they work to support their husband. Although women have access to various that economic that activities and that opportunities nowadays, they are still subject to discrimination. If we look at the requirement of certain that jobs, it is appear that many of them have clear gender preference. Discrimination and the basis on the different aspects happen in society are seen in economic spheres and prominently. You can see this creates a gender imbalance, and presently wages given to the woman, female, that counterparts in formal spheres are improving. Yet gender inequality have not that been fully that bridged. Gender discriminations and is slowly changing too, and yet it is more remain to be done. So informal sector is there. Then you see informal sector, agricultural work, rearing work, cattle work, and some farming work, household work, gathering and fodder, and some factory work are seen in these that informal sectors. Paid and unpaid work of a woman, it is also part of that informal sector. Women that make up a significant part of the workplace of the country. Almost the rural areas, the women are working in agriculture. They are related with the agriculture work. It is the informal sector that they are not getting advantages of government schemes like that insurance, payment, and that some advantage of that not there. It is non-taxable activity and it is opportunity to employ that is there. Women may not otherwise, or unskilled women may not have get an opportunity to work. However, temporary women workers do not reap much more benefits than their work entitled than them. The informal sector is unorganized and women workers have fewer rights and are discriminated against this informal sector. They do not receive bonus and some benefits of leaves and that insurance and other that schemes. The census data shows that between 1981 to 1991, the number of that rural women's agricultural workers increased by 36.5%, and the workers are increasing. It is you can see it is apparent that landlessness it is there, poverty is there, so that women labor worker increasing. The sector money is there, it is there, is not included in the calculation of national income, and sometimes women workers do not receive that minimum that wages. Men are almost that are always paid more than women and for the same work. Now we'll see about that formal sectors: banks, schools, MCG office, hospitals. These are the formal sectors, and it is in these sections it's organized workers. They have that fixed salaries and insurance, and face and less discrimination is there. However, in India, that organized the sectors for women and woefully and underrepresented. Most jobs are gender specific and certain positions are offered only to the men. Women have to work under or harder to prove their ability. Women have to work harder to prove their capability and the gain and they accept. In the organized sector, that woman enjoys that benefits like that medical insurance, sick leave, maternity leaves, and the leaves for scheduled leaves in the calendar. That all that enjoy. In certain cases, women even work in from home also. The Indian Constitution is there, prohibits and discriminates on the basis of sex. In 1976, the Equal Remuneration Act was passed to receive the equal pay for the equal work. Equal pay was given to men and women for equal and similar work. This act was passed in 1976. Prominent that transfer and are also that part, and it is the duty of government to ensure that there is a equality for women in the professional world. Then we will see that invisibilization of women's labor. Women remain concerned and invisible in area of informal work. They are connected with formal and informal but most of their domestic works are there. They are unpaid and invisible. Whenever we count that national income, it is underestimated and not calculated during the calculation of national income. This offers that unemployment and unstable and employment status of and irregular of remuneration. Women in the informal sector have limited ability and organize and thus cannot ensure that enforcement of labor standard and human rights. Since most women Since most of the women are there, they do unpaid work and economic value of that work is invisible. As such, women continue that work or believe that that marriage can be seen as a labor contract. Most of the women that marriage is seen as a labor contract. Through the marriage, through the marriage contract, men can exploit women's that labor and become their economic that master. And since women do not work the outside and do work at home, they do not have a source of income. The woman who do not work outside, they do not have source of income. They are dependent on their husband for that financial support. They are dependent on their husband or family for financial support. The struggle for gender equality has become a long way process, and it is a long way process predominantly particular and it is a long process where men have more authority and women have less authority. We can continue fight gender stereotypes and in our society through that to reduce the school dropouts of that women. So nowadays that Adivasi girls and minority girls, scheduled caste, they are studying well and governments are supporting for their education to bring awareness in them. So education played a major role to bring awareness in that women to the backward class and scheduled class, ST, SC, OBC, that girls are studying nowadays. So they will not have that burden in study. Governments are offering money for their education, so they can educate their girl and they can afford to educate their girl and well. That's why so number of girls are studying now. It needs to most of the people educate their male child and they to reduce the school education for that girl, but because of government schemes and that most of the families we cannot bear the cost of education. Most of the family cannot afford the cost of education. So to continue to educate only the male children. Girls help in that raising in the siblings. Their siblings are and sent to the work in the mother's place and marriage. So this way that girls are discriminated and that mostly families are not sending girls for education. They involved in household work in place of mother and then that mother's place and are married off. Call for awareness. Even today, women are that plagued by the social evils like early marriage, dowries, and death, rape, early marriage, dowry, death, rape, sexual that harassment. These all are and domestic violence happening on women. We cannot that say about that? We know that girls do not always receive the best that nutrition and healthcare. Women themselves are often that responsible for many of these terrible attacks on them. And in our country, the high female politicides and infanticides rates have resulted in that disrupted sex ratio. There is a need to create that awareness among the people about the gender equality. Women's and many NGOs have been created to advance women's movement for that equality. The focus today is on the issue of public awareness and of women's rights. This is done through the education and various mediums like that stereo plays, songs, dramas, and public messages. Women are able to show solidarity with women and women relates causes through product and candle march, writing articles in local and national newspapers. So to bring this awareness, which women are able to show that solidarity with others, with other women, and women relates that causes through the protest, candle march, writing articles in a local and national newspapers. So for that, women need to do educated. Education is there; it is playing major role in this aspect. So for that, women need to be educated. Education is needed for that, and governments are there nowadays educating that girls, children, and giving scholarships, schemes, and most of the facility, transport facilities, and there some schemes are there for that backward classes, scheduled class girls for their girls education. Their free education scheme is there. Free transport facilities are given to them. Then some scholarships are given for further studies by the government. So nowadays, because of this all government that's effects and efforts, is all that standards are improving. Nowadays, girls are aware and families are aware. So they are sending girls for education. Girls are getting that further educations. Nowadays, girls are getting rights, and mostly girls and women are working in formal sectors also, and they get advantage as like men getting in formal sectors. So nowadays that women are able to work like men, they are capable, they work with the men, they are capable to work like a man. How much work men do, that much work women also can do, and the value of women work is increased today. So that women are working in all kind of factors today, even in business also most of the women are there. So it is the effects of that education, and the women work in all sectors today. So I hope you understand this all chapter well. Okay. Thank you, children. Bye.